Morning, everybody. I'm just letting people in, sorry. So that's why I'm a bit distracted. Okay. Welcome to this Zoom from us, the Independent Cinema Office, about our drive for trustee recruitment. My name's Catharine Desforges. I'm the director of the ICO. I had hoped we might have some actual trustees with us today, but some of them are ill or not well, and some of them have work commitments. So I'm afraid it's just me, but there you go. Um, if you really want to talk to somebody before you make an application, or you'd like to talk to somebody about what it's like to be on the board before making a decision to apply, then just drop us an email at the info address and let us know, and we can put you in touch with somebody. Just to let you know, we are recording this session today for people that are unable to be here. So if you want to ask a question, or you would rather remain anonymous when you're doing that, or you don't want that to necessarily the question related to you to be recorded, then just put it in the chat, and at the end there'll be an opportunity for questions, and I'll read all the questions out from the chat, but obviously you can also ask a question in real life. So just to get us started, I set up the ICO 22 years ago. I think it's 22 years ago. No, 21 years ago, 21 years ago. And I have been the director ever since. We are the National Organisation for Independent Cinemas. So we are a charity and a company limited by guarantee. We are, if you like, a one-stop shop for anybody who shows independent films across the UK. And when I say shows films, what I mean is watching films in a communal setting with other people. So not watching them at home, not watching them on your phone, watching them with other people. So we are very much about audiences and believing in the power of film to transform the lives of audiences. And we are very much about equity for all audiences wherever they live, so that they can access the best of world cinema. So we believe that, like all great art forms, cinema has the power to change people's lives, and independent cinemas are very much part of their communities. And that's, if you like, central to all the work that we do. So just to go through some of the things that we do, we're not a membership organisation. We provide services. So we're publicly funded. About 75% of our income comes from sort of like national lottery sources or other funders, and we earn about somewhere between 20 to 25% of our money every year. We program cinemas, so we have a network of, I think now it's 24 cinemas and one film festival, which is called Borderlines. It's the biggest rural film festival in the UK, and those cinemas are across the UK, and we give them program and advice, and we book films on their behalf with distributors, and we work with them in partnership to deliver the best program we can for local communities. We also run a series of national events to help and support exhibitors. So we're just in the middle of our screening days program. So these are events we run 4 times a year, and they are there to support exhibitors, where we show films in advance before they come out, to help people inform people's choices, to enable them to meet their peers, to have discussions, to listen to case studies. We bring in experts. We run 2 general events. So we've got one on at the moment, which is in Broadway and Nottingham and the Midlands, and we also run some specialized ones which are around specific, looking for audiences or developing audiences for specific audiences. So we've got one on archive film, programming archive film, which is to take place in January in Leeds, and we also do ones for young audiences, and we also do one around inclusion and diversity. So we do lots and lots of different events. And to those events across the whole year, we might have something like 500, 600 different organizations attending. We also run Film Hub Southeast, which is part of the BFI's Film Audience Network, and that means for the southeast of England, which you can go on our website and look at how that's defined. But it's basically, you take out London in the middle and you go round London, so it goes all the way up to East Anglia, it goes all around the south coast, and then it goes all around Oxfordshire and Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. And we are responsible for distributing lottery funds in that area to other smaller organisations who might be running film festivals, might be doing programming, might be having community cinemas. And we also fund short film funding via BFI Network in that region. And then we do consultancy. So we work with local authorities, independent charities, other communities, theatres, to help develop cinemas or their kind of offering, or help them with what they're currently doing. Oh, sorry, I've just got to admit some people. um, and we also do distribute and deliver touring programs. And as part of the Film Audience Network, we are responsible. Would you mind turning off your, I think that's Naz, would you mind turning that? Brilliant, that's, you're on silent now, great. We are the single biggest provider of training for that sector in the UK. So we are responsible for developing and delivering training, professional development opportunities and communications for the Film Audience Network. On the international side, we run something called the International Film Festival Network, which is a network of currently around 27 film festivals that came out of a course that we ran for 11, 12, with the support of Creative Europe, alas, no more, thanks to Brexit, called Developing Your Film Festival. And that's where we brought about 40 film festivals a year in a course which took place at different European film festivals. And we brought lots and lots of experts and speakers, and it enabled them to meet each other and develop their own practice. And now we run a network where we provide webinars, and every year we do an annual summit where all those film festivals come together. So quite a lot of different activities. And you can find out more about all of those activities and all of the work that we do by looking at our website. There's also quite a lot of other information on our website. So we have our business plan, we have, our mission statement, we have all the annual reports. We do an annual report every single year, and it has quite a lot of data, it has a lot of other information. So if you want to find out more about what we do, our current board is 11 strong, I think. We have had 2 chairs in the last 21 years. So the current chair is due to step down at the end in next year, and we'll probably be recruiting for a new chair kind of in January. But we have 3 long-term board members who are standing down next year. So hence the current recruitment, and hence our there are particular skills this time. But we're always interested in people who have different perspectives to our own, who have different experiences. So we have if you look on our website, on the About Us bit on our website, you can look at the current demographics of our board members. So you get some sense of the range in age and the backgrounds and the different experiences. So we recognise that people have different lived experiences, and as we see ourselves as a sort of audience-focused organisation, if you like, and audiences are made up of hopefully everyone, that's why we sort of endeavour to try and make our board as diverse and different as possible, both in terms of their backgrounds, the work that they do professionally, but also where they live and their lived experience and the kind of communities they come from. So you can see there's a big range in age, it's a big range in background. All their biographies are on the website, so you can have a look. So that's why we're recruiting some more trustees, because we're due to have some. In terms of actually what our trustees do, obviously, some of you who have been trustees or might currently have trustees be aware, there are some people sometimes who are interested in being a trustee, and actually they would be better off applying for a job with us. So if you want to work for us, it's not probably the most appropriate fit. It's to challenge us and interrogate the work that we do and bring your own experiences to the work we do. It's obviously we are a charity, so we have legal obligations, and we need oversight of our activities, not just kind of financially or legally, but also to make sure that we are future-proofing the organisation, looking forward, understanding the context that we're currently working with, and that we are clear and adhering to the sort of mission we set ourselves. We do most of our meetings on Zoom post-COVID. We often we often aspire to do one in real life. We used to obviously do them in real life, but because our trustees come from across the UK, it's often obviously much easier for people to do the meetings on Zoom. But we do invite trustees to quite a lot of our events. So and trustees do to come together. The business plan, if you ever have a look at it, we developed that last year. So the kickoff of that was all the trustees and the staff coming together to work together, and that was an in-person event. So we do bring trustees together in person, but the majority of our meetings are online. There are 4 trustees meetings a year. We have some additional committees that some trustees volunteer for. The most active of those is the finance committee, which always meets 2 weeks before the board meeting. But we also have an HR and personnel committee that's due to meet in December, but that'll be the first meeting for over a year. And we also have an EDI committee, and the EDI committee is also composed of members of staff as well as trustees. When people, so if you look at the website, you'll see the process for application. It's a kind of written application, but you are welcome to make a film of yourself doing a verbal application if you would prefer to do that, and upload the video and send that to us. And then we have a shortlisting process. We have an interview process where it's myself and usually 2 or 3 of the current trustees interviewing. When we offer people the opportunity to come and be trustees, if you're successful, we ask people to come and observe a meeting to see what they think and whether they really think it's for them. And then we also assign all new trustees a staff buddy. So that's somebody that they can talk to in the organisation who isn't me. So often it's maybe a more junior member of staff or somebody who works in a particular team. And then we also give them a board buddy. So they have somebody also to talk to before meetings. And if they want to go and look at papers together. We also give them the opportunity to talk to our head of finance so that she can go through the kind of financial papers as well, if that's something that people are less confident about, which is often the case. And then we offer the opportunity to usually quite a lot of new trustees undertake the NCVO's course, which is it's a sort of a refresher course if you've been a trustee for not for a long time, or if you've never been a trustee before, it's a kind of course for new trustees. So that's the kind of onboarding process, if you like. I think that's kind of a lot of me talking. So sorry if you joined this late, by the way. If you're on this call and you joined this late, it has been recorded. So you can go and look on the website afterwards, or if you registered for it, you'll be sent a link and you can look at the recording and watch it. So you can see the beginning that you missed. I'm just gonna, sorry, put my glasses on so I can look in the chat and see if anybody's writing me any questions. So does anybody have any questions? You can ask them in real life, obviously, or you can write them down here. Obviously, I have talked fast, so I don't know, there might be things that I've missed out. And just see what people would want to ask, because obviously it's different every time.
Hi, my name's Steve. Very quick question. I saw you guys operate as a limited company as well. I wasn't sure if any of the limited company responsibilities would also fall to the trustees, and if so, are you guys double hatting? Is there sort of additional responsibilities that would be expected of potential trustees if that's the case?
Not really, no. I mean, no, I mean, I would say, the expectations on a kind of limited company are less onerous maybe than the ones on the Charity Commission. So we have the same, we're just going through our audit at the moment, but and the Finance Committee, if you participate in the Finance Committee, they are the people that kind of are really rigorous around looking at the financial statements and the kind of trustees report, but it's put together by staff. The job of the board is to kind of oversee it, read it, understand, question it if there are things that they don't understand or things that they meet the auditors. So we had the auditors, they haven't finished our audit yet, but they just came and met that committee at that meeting that we had kind of last week. And at the next board meeting, we'll be looking at that report again. So there's quite a lot of different meetings of oversight over them, but I wouldn't say that there are additional responsibilities regarding that. And I think in terms of the trustee role, some of our trustees are very much involved in that process because that really speaks to their experience and their knowledge. But there are other trustees who come to the board meetings and accept the recommendations of that committee, and they are less involved, if you like, in that. I don't know if does that answer your question.
No, it does. Thank you. Another one, if I may, I'm just going to keep jumping in until someone
Okay.
stops me. You mentioned as well, 3 of the trustees will be stepping down next year. And I guess you also sort of briefly mentioned that you did have some specific skills or experiences that maybe you were looking for. So I don't know if it's necessarily a like for like. The trustees that you're looking to bring on would be sort of similar backgrounds from the trustees that are leaving, or if there's anything specific that you're looking for in the new trustees, any diverse experiences that perhaps would stand out for you guys.
It's all in the job advert actually on the website, but we're looking for people with experiences in HR, in financial management and accountancy, and in organizational development. But that doesn't mean to say that we would exclude you if you don't have any of those experiences. I think I've got a load in the chat, but Ben, do you want to just ask your question because you've got your hand up?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, I was just curious real quick because it does note too on your verbiage that and it's probably clear to most of us that funding and some of the usual avenues for finance have been fairly dry, especially for charities, right? So I'm curious if that means you guys are having to be like pivot at all or be ambitious in new directions, or if you're for the most part staying the course with the programs that you have had.
I know that's a great question. I would say that all charities at the moment are having to pivot and be innovative, and particularly in the industry that we are in, because it's in a state of flux, that it's subject to quite a lot of change, and the contacts we're working with is definitely not a stable context. So yes, we are pivoting, we are changing. This year we have done a lot more, put a lot more energy, if you like, rather than fundraising in terms of public funds or public funding applications. We have pivoted a lot more into investing in time, in bringing in more earned income. So we've increased the number of partner venues we work with, our programming clients. We've brought in about 3 or 4 new ones this year. So yes, we have changed. I think that's sort of the reality for most charities actually at the moment. I'm just so you know, everybody, I'm just gonna ask some questions in the chat, but feel free to put your hand up later if you want to ask. Are the financial statements publicly available online? Yeah, if you go on to Companies House, you can see all of them. They're usually available, obviously, when we look at we do our audit and we submit our audit for the year. So those ones will be available from 23-24 quite soon, but you can look at the previous years. Our previous head of finance worked as an auditor for like 20-30 years. So they're quite, we have had great financial management internally. What qualities are you looking for in a trustee? I think what you're looking for is people who really care about what the organization does, because if you don't care and you're not interested in it, then obviously it's quite hard to do that. People who want to support the staff doing the work that they do, who are interested in bringing their particular set of skills and volunteering them or offering them where they are needed. So I think that everybody, when you have trustees, you have about maybe 10 or 11 trustees, or 10, I guess, and they will all be there because they have different skills. So they won't all be there for the same reasons, and they won't all be doing the same things. And some of them will get invited, included in some work, and may come and talk to staff, or may work more closely with you. Some of them will come and talk to our events, and they will talk to all the people that come to those events, and they will be, some of them will be very, volunteer information or help on particular areas that they have. So they're all there for different reasons, if you like. But what you're really looking for is that kind of level of interest and commitment and passion to what you do, and also that they are there for the good of the charity, if you like, rather than, and the work, the mission statement that you have, rather than necessarily their own concerns. There's a whole set of, our kind of mission, our vision, our values, and that all of the trustees have bought into that. And that's why we're here so that you're always thinking about what is this charity for, and what is the work that we do for, and who are the people that we serve with it. And that's always paramount. So that's the kind of, you want fairness, you want people who are rigorous, you want people who turn up and show up to meetings. So people who are kind of collegiate, who are interested and curious, and but kind of, I guess, supportive. So you don't necessarily want people who are combative. We are not in a crisis at the moment. We're not in a crisis organization, but I mean, although I think all charities are really working in a challenging environment at the moment, we generally have been quite stable, but we do have our challenges. So you're looking for people who want to support you, generally. What is the primary challenge or opportunity facing ICO, and how can the board provide active support in addressing it? That's the kind of question we might ask you in an interview, isn't it? I would say the primary challenge or opportunity, I mean, there isn't just one challenge. There's a whole range of challenges. So there's the economic context that we're in, which is very much around the cost of living crisis. It's also about public funding. We serve a lot of other organizations. We're a kind of sector support organization, if you like, and our sector is facing, a lot of stress. There's, much less public funding available than there used to be, both in local authorities and both in terms of public funding. There's a lot of increased costs. There's a lot of burnout, and also some audiences, have diminished, certainly post-COVID. But there's also crisis in the industry around, again, post-COVID, about the changing nature of the media industries and the way that films are distributed, the way that cinemas operate, the way that audiences behave. These are all kind of things that impact on the work that we do. But there are lots and lots of different opportunities and changes in how we operate. So challenges and opportunities. There are loads of opportunities. There are a lot of challenges at the moment. But I think we work in the public funded art sector. There's always we work in the least glamorous part of the film industry and film exhibitions. So it's always challenging, it's always difficult, it's always hard, but that's why it's interesting and exciting, and it's also means that you can actually do things that are really transformative and really change people's lives, and that's why you do it, really. Hello, are there any legal requirements? Other film industry? No, there aren't legal requirements, but what we would look at is maybe conflict of interests. So we would maybe expect you to, identify those to us. I mean, we always take those on a case-by-case basis, sometimes. So, for example, if you work for an organization that competed with us for a tender, or, we'd worked with before, or, I don't know, we might kind of look at that, sort of as it came in. Or we might ask you how you could work for both. Or sometimes, if people are, I think it's about conflict of interest is about, obviously real conflicts of interest, but it's also about transparency and about, the context that we're working with and all the organizations and the funders that we're working with. So we want to be transparent about everything, and we want to make sure we'd be interested in other people's perceptions of what might be perceived conflicts of interest. So we have, we often discuss those. We'd be discussing those with the other trustees, but otherwise not really as in a sort of legal requirement. When is the deadline? On the line, it is down as I don't understand. So the deadline is the 18th of December 2024. Do you mean it is in one of the documents? I mean, I'll go and have a look at that, and we can change it if that's so. But yes, it's the 18th of December. And then obviously it's before Christmas. So then I'll send all the applications to the other trustees, and we'll all read them over Christmas, and we'd expect to be getting in touch with people in January. Hello, are you looking for someone with prior experience with trusteeship? No, not necessarily. We have quite, I would say maybe half the board have never been on a board before, or a bit more than that. The other mentions the dive of the board to better reflect the communities you serve. Could you elaborate on what specific communities you feel are currently underrepresented and what steps I can't elaborate on that really in this call, but I can direct you to our website so I would say disabled communities. So one of the things we're doing currently is we're just embarking on developing our disability action plan. You'll know if you look at the information on our website, we developed an EDI plan. We're just in our second iteration of that. We've just published that. So that's been a kind of 5-year journey. And now we're starting on a disability action plan. So I would say disabled people, we do have disabled members, trustees, but, you know, we can always represent that community better. Ethnically diverse trustees, again, we do have ethnically diverse trustees, but we're always interested in reflecting that more. Geography, we're really interested in having people from different parts of the UK. We represent and work with organisations and people across the UK, so we're always interested in people from different parts of the UK. So those I would say is, I mean, you can. Sorry if that doesn't feel like a long enough answer for you, but as I said, there is quite a lot of information on our website. So for example, you can look you can read about our EDI journey and we have changed quite a lot. Our EDI updates tell you what we're changing constantly about. So that's, if you like, it's quite a live process. So we look at the events that we do, we look at the communities we work with, you know, we look at where we perceive there are gaps within the UK and people who are not able to access cinema or can't access training or can't access the industry. So for us, it's not just about watching films and audiences, it's also about the people that work in those industries and what we can do to support and change that. For 10 years, we've been running a film trainee scheme where we have put something like 60 young people over that decade through a training scheme where they worked for 10 months within a film festival or a film organisation. We brought them together every month. There are a cohort of them, and about 85% of them are still working in the film industry. So those are the sorts of projects we do, if you like, to answer your question. When we see a gap and when we think there is underrepresentation, we look at what are the steps that we can take as an organisation? What can we do to change things? And obviously we can't change everything, and there are lots of other organisations that are much, much better placed than us to do that. But we need to look at the places where we can support other people, where we can amplify the work that they're doing, where we can share opportunities or best practice, and also the places where we can make change. But beyond a cover letter, video submission, should we provide additional material, e.g. CV? Yes, by all means, do send a CV if you would like to, but it's not compulsory. That's because, you know, some people will write a letter, and in their letter they'll put lots of their CV information. So it's not necessary if you don't want to or you feel it's too much. But yes, you're very welcome to do that too. I've got to the end of all of the questions in the chat. Does anybody else have any additional questions?
Yes, hello. My name's Sue Dean. Just wondered, it looks as though a lot of your current trustees have film industry experience. So is this a deliberate tack, this sort of recruitment round to open it up to the board for new recruits that don't have that?
No, I would say that they don't all have. I would say only about 50% of them have film experience. Okay. So, and we tend, the ones that do, often it's because they work in a different area than we kind of work in. So only one of them, I think, has film exhibition experience, for example, because obviously we work in exhibition all the time. So we have quite a lot of expertise within the organisation, but quite a lot of them don't have film industry experience. So I would say that's always something I'm really interested in. We've had quite a lot of them have arts experience. So they haven't worked in film, but they've maybe worked in theatre or performing arts, or they've worked for an arts funding body, or they work for an arts council. But again, not everybody. Some of them just really like films. I mean, I would say, but the thing is that I think that it's important that they understand why we do what we do matters. And quite a lot of them might possibly have some personal interest, in the sense that they come from a small rural community where there's a film club that they've really liked, or film is something that they really appreciate as a kind of art form that they really love, or that they're really passionate about. So I suppose I would say actually only about half of them have direct film experience, and the ones that don't have film experience in the bit that we do. You know, they come from that, you know, like they've worked in an archive, or they make films and they joined our board before we actually had responsibility for funding. No, so one of our board members is an artist, but we don't get funded to work with artists and film at all. So, you know, they're bringing in, if you like, they're bringing in experience from other sectors. So, sorry, does that answer your question?
You. Yes, it does. Thank you.
But I love having on our training courses, I'm always trying to bring in people from other sectors, because I think, well, I have been working in this sector for over 30 years, so I know quite a lot about this sector, but I'm always interested in what people are bringing from other sectors. And I spent last year working on a kind of an advisory board for businesses, for people who set up their own businesses, none of which are in film. And I found that really fascinating. And I was working with people, you know, from banking and, you know, from aeronautical, you know, and manufacturing. And I thought it was really, really, really useful and interesting. So I am always interested in people from other sectors and what we can learn. And also obviously from the private sector, because we are not very much, obviously not the private sector. Alessandro.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for organising this, first of all. It's been really insightful. Just a more practical question this time. As in terms of time commitment, aside from the 4 board meetings a year, is there any other expectation on kind of, you know, what is the time commitment outside of those 4 meetings?
Okay, so we like, you know, it's helpful if trustees get involved in other things. So if they volunteer for a committee, but if they do volunteer for a committee, if they volunteer for the finance committee, that's another 4 meetings a year. If they volunteer for one of the other committees, that's probably more like 1 or 2 or 3 meetings a year. We invite all of our trustees to all of our events. So some of them come to all of them. Some of them come to, you know, most of them, if it's near where they live. Some of them might come like once a year. And then maybe once every 2 or 3 years, we would ask trustees to come in person for a day and be part. So that's a day, if you like, and that's part of, you know, like business planning or future proofing or looking at kind of much more serious, you know, kind of long-term plans for the charity. But that's not every year. That's maybe like once every 2 years, once every 3 years. And then obviously trustees will be involved in the recruitment of new trustees. So that's, but they won't all do it. Only some of them will do it. And, you know, so it's a kind of different sort of, so I would say the minimum is the 4 meetings a year. Most people will give us more time than that, but it's not ridiculous, it's not onerous, it's not lots, you know, it's not like a day a month or anything. Mostly, and most of our trustees, we have a couple that are retired, but most of them are working and have jobs, you know, are employed full-time in other jobs. What's the length of tenure for trustee roles? It's 3 years, but sometimes we have younger. It's 3 years, and then people can renew that if they want to, if we would like to renew it. Sometimes they don't renew it, and that's because we want to get, you know, additional expertise on the board. Sometimes it's, you know, that's their life circumstances change, you know, they leave the country, they go and live somewhere else. So, you know, there are different reasons why people might step down. So it's 3 years. Sometimes we have had younger trustees, you know, like, when I say younger, I mean people in their very early 20s, and we have offered them the opportunity to do a year because we recognize that that's a stage in your life where things change for you. So we're interested in people's you know, obviously their experience and their perspectives, and we want to make sure that it's as accessible as possible, it's as equitable as possible, and we don't put barriers in the way of people being able to do it. But yeah, I think 3 years is quite a good, you know, it's quite hard to have, you know, it takes you quite a while to kind of get up to speed with what the organization's doing, and, you know, to be more familiar with it. And we put things in place like having staff buddies so that you can be more familiar with it. And obviously if you come to screening day, like, you know, the biggest of screening days event we do is at the BFI South Bank every kind of spring, March, February, and there's like 400 different people there over 3 days. So if you come to that and you meet and talk to people, it'll be quite a good, you know, what's the word, entry into quite a lot of the work that we do. So, but I think it is quite hard, you know, when you join a new organization as a trustee, you know, it takes quite a while to get up to speed with what they're actually doing and how they work and the history of the organization. Have we got any other questions? If you do have things that you didn't ask and you think afterwards, I would like, I wish I'd have asked that, then you are welcome to send us any, send us an email and just ask any question, and I will endeavour. It'll get passed on to me and I will endeavour to answer it. As I said at the beginning, if you wanted to talk, I apologise that we don't have any trustees here with us today. We normally do. We've got a recording at the moment on the website, and one of our trustees is on that one, a previous one I did. So if that is something that you would really like to do, then please do send us an email and I'll endeavour to sort that out.
So I had one quick
Yes,
question.
sure, go ahead.
My name's Fumi, and yes, thank you for the presentation. Super helpful. This is just like a really basic question because you must see tons of applications all the time over the years that you've been looking at sort of recruiting trustees. Are there things that really just stand out to you as potentially things that people do without realizing, or that maybe are just like things to avoid in applications, or things that stand out to you as stuff that makes certain applications memorable for whatever reason?
That's a very good question for me. So I would say the two things that stand out to me are people who I think really want a job with us. They want to be employed by us, so they want to work for us. They don't want to be on the board. They want to do the job. So if you want to do the job, you can't be on the board because obviously we were already employing someone to do the job. So that's not particularly helpful because then you might want to join in and like start kind of having much more of a active voice in actually the delivery or the thinking behind why we're doing certain things. And so I would always say to those people, just we advertise all the jobs on the job site. We do a big jobs digest of all the jobs in the industry every week. That's maybe something you should do. And the second thing I think is when people are obviously haven't really looked at any of the information. We have a really, we're a kind of, I suppose because we're a sector support organization, we have like a ridiculous amount of information on our website, but there is a lot of information about the work that we do. That we try and be as transparent as possible about everything and about the history, and there are like blogs, there's so much information. So when somebody writes you an application and they haven't looked at any of it and they don't really know anything about what you do, that's really obvious. So then it's not as so I think people have different levels of experience, and I think somebody else asked me about people coming from film and not coming from film. Obviously, if you don't come from film and you're just somebody who's really interested and you like watching films in your local community cinema, maybe you won't know as much. But then I would want you to tell us why you think it matters, why the work that we do matters. Why is it important to you? And also, what are the skills that you can bring that you want to offer? So I think does that answer your question? So those are the two. So, I guess being able to demonstrate that you've understood what it is that we do and why you're interested in being part of that. And the second thing is, being clear about why it is you want to join the board and not why you might want to work for the organization. Do send any questions or any additional queries to the info address if you've got any, and there's something that I haven't answered. But thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm really sorry that I had to run out in the middle. It's like that. I'm sure you will all appreciate how long it takes to get someone to come and look at your things in your kitchen that don't work. So I'm like, I've got to make it work, otherwise I'll be in trouble later. But thanks, lovely to meet you all, and thanks very much for joining us.